Well, I do have a question queued up from Shannon M. It says, the kids got 4-figure gifts, so financial gifts, when they were born, which is very nice. They put them into a total market index in the parents' brokerage while we decided what to do. We have since set up 529s. So, do we move this money to the 529s? Do we just leave it where it is and let it grow? Do we put it in an UGMA or an UTMA? What would you do in this scenario?
Well, there is a structural issue here.
Well, it sounds like there's going to be a tax issue is what I'm
That's what I wanted to
yeah. So the question is, okay, what account do I put the dollars in? Let me speak to that one first. It depends on what the goal for the dollars is. Now, she didn't mention how old the kids were, just they got 4-figure gifts early on. So we don't know if this is money that you got when they, 10 years ago when they were born, or maybe your kids are 10 months old and so they've been there for less than a year. But whenever you're deciding what to do for kids, you need to recognize that different types of accounts have different structures to them with different benefits. You mentioned a few. 529s, it's an amazing way to save for college education or for private K through 12 education. So if your goal for these dollars is to save for education, 529 could be a fantastic solution. And if you happen to live in a state that has a state tax deduction, not only can those dollars grow tax deferred, be tax free for education expenses, you can get a tax deduction on the front end if you live in one of those states. If, however, you have a less certain idea of what you're going to do with them, like maybe it's going to be for a wedding, or maybe it's going to be for the first car, maybe it's going to be for, fill in the blank, then an UTMA account might be a great solution where you serve as the owner of the account, and then you have a beneficiary who's a minor as the beneficiary of the account, and it can continue to grow, and then when they get to 18, it becomes their dollars, and it can be used for any types of purposes. So I think you have to answer the question, what's the goal of the dollars? Now, you bring up a very interesting thing, Brian. Their current strategy, let's assume that the dollars you said I put it in the parent's account and we invest in the total market index. It creates some friction, and that friction gets bigger and bigger and bigger as time goes on. Would you suggest if the money's for the kids, should they leave it in the parent's account until the kids get of age, or should they do something else?
No, I definitely think that, because there's several things that I was immediately thinking of. Taxes is a big part of this. Plus, I think it's a solid point to say friction costs. Because look, you don't really own the assets. I mean, if the money was put in the account, minds could change. I mean, because it's a promise is all it is right now.
That's right.
And that's one of the things. And that's why the government's going to say, nope, they pay the taxes, not you. And all these tax favored things we could do with 529s and custodial accounts, those don't really count because they still kept the strings on it. So the ownership and control matters. Structure matters just from, I love the tax favored way that these accounts could grow if you actually get it into the 529 or the custodial accounts. But you just have to, the why or what the goals of this money have to intersect appropriately. But you should know the ins and outs on that. I will tell you, over the weekend, I just got the letter from the custodian saying my oldest daughter's account now officially has to not be a custodial account because, whatever your age of majority is in your state, they're going to start nudging you to turn that into an individual account. And by the way, you lose complete control and access and everything. So your now legally adult child has access to these big accounts. But we all know that maybe even though they're legally adults, have they learned how to do money well enough that you trust them with these large sums of money? Because a 4-figure investment for a newborn is going to be a chunk of money by the time that they reach the age of majority. So I would take that into account. The goals really are going to drive a lot of this. That's why 529s, custodial accounts, but get it outside of the parents. And probably now you have to do a tax analysis to see, and the parents are going to have, or grandparents are going to have a decision of, do we just now re-gift? Maybe they're flush enough, they just give you the market value in cash in the 529 or custodial account, or do they need to liquidate and y'all figure out who the heck's going to pay the taxes on it? There's all kind of complexities. That's why I like the idea, if you're going to do these type of goals, kind of begin with the end in mind so that you're not coming back 4 years later with the complexity of, man, we should have known how we were going to put it in structure wise, so we didn't have to turn this awesome intended gift into a complex transaction.
Yeah, the context, Shannon said that the kids are 3 and 6. These were cash gifts from the grandparents, when the kids were born, right, is what happened. So one of the downsides of Shannon, what you did, she said, hey, okay, we're just going to put it in our account. We're going to invest it. As that money grows, if it's in your account, it's going to be...
So it's in the parents' account.
Yeah.
That's what they do have control.
So that was my understanding. They got the money. They just deposited it. It's been growing in the total market index. So like you said, there's going to be a tax consequence if you are to sell that, but that may be okay, that may be prudent, because if you leave it in your name, you're going to continue to pay tax on those dollars as they grow, as you transact. The beautiful part is if you do get it into an UGMA, those are likely not going to pay any taxes because it's going to be taxed at the kid's tax rate, which is likely going to be 0% for a 0 or for a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old. So odds are pretty good that it would be more tax efficient not being in your name. Now, somebody made a comment, and I just want you to speak to this, and I'm sorry I'm going long, Ravi, but what can you do? We just got off book tour. Somebody said, oh man, why would I ever do this? I don't know what my kids are going to be like at 18. I don't. And you've had clients that have had that concern before. Like, why would I put money in an UGMA if it becomes their money at 18? Isn't that risky? What's the guidance you've said, or how do you tell parents to think through that?
Well, yeah, yes, it is risky, but my experience, I don't think my daughter's going to go blow through all this money, because if you're doing everything you should and putting skin in the game, teaching them, doing matching funds, making them buy part of their first car, learning them to about give, save, spend. Hopefully these things are accounted for with all those 20 years that they were living in your household and you were teaching them. Now, but there is the risk that they could blow it. They could go buy the Corvette, or some other nicer car that would not be practical for life, but seems reasonable for a 20-year-old.
But even as we've had clients navigate this, they've been like, all right, you're going to go, you can take this UGMA account and you can go blow it, but you're kind of selling you're stealing the milk and getting rid of the cow, or whatever that expression is. You know what I mean?
It's just that reality is that families that are doing this, there's probably more stuff out there, and if you had somebody give you this opportunity, you should bear the responsibility of understanding this is a blessing and you don't want to blow it. Mom spaghetti.